AOC is lying about Trump. Again, you can tell because she's speaking. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. We're going to go into the Trump wanting to arrest all those military Congress people, ex-FBI agents that tried to get our military to disobey his orders unlawfully. And we'll go into big wins in the Trump administration because he's still doing his job. He doesn't let them spin him out of control. He's still pushing MAGA forward, though media has found new ways to lie through these fake social media bot accounts. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. Here is AOC moving her mouth.
To be honest, the president's remarks I think, indicate a level of instability.
Okay, to be honest, you already know they're already going to be dishonest when they say that. Now she's saying Trump is mentally unstable.
It's not just shocking. It's not just offensive. It's bizarre. It is erratic. It's volatile.
I actually think it's funny.
And I think it indicates a mental state that we should all be questioning right now, whether that's emotional, mental, what have you. It is not normal.
Didn't question the mental state of Biden for 4 years.
To make these accusations, it is not normal to invoke these kinds of threats of violence. And it's also not normal to also dramatically misquote, as Carolyn Leavitt was doing, what these members of Congress said. They made a very clear message to U.S. service members, which is that you do not have to obey an illegal order.
So let's talk right now. Do you believe President Trump has issued any illegal orders?
To my knowledge, I am not aware of things that are illegal, but...
Why didn't they say it under Biden? Why not say under Biden, hey, military, under Biden, you do not have to obey an illegal order? Why didn't they say it during the pandemic when the military was saying that you had to take a vaccine? They could have, even if it was legal, they could have just told the servicemen, hey, you don't have to obey an illegal order.
And I think that's an important message to reiterate. Because this administration seems to be increasingly trying to go down that path.
What a huge fraud. Okay, obvious lie from AOC, obvious panic. This was posted from RNC Research. You know, a bunch of Trump supporting members of the military came out and shot their own ad that we're going to see in this CBS News segment after this Democrat. This is Crow.
Let's get to the content of what you had in that video you released, because there are also 15 House Republicans who are also veterans who released a video, including a retired 3-star Marine Corps General, Jack Bergman. Take a listen to this.
Troops, listen up. Any service member who refuses a lawful order is subject to court-martial for violation.
Okay, this is our side, our House GOP, reminding the servicemen, if you just disobey an order, like take the law in your own hands and decide it's unlawful on your own, and that's what some servicemen are doing, especially the Democrats, you'll be court-martialed.
Violating the Uniform Code of Military Justice.
We study what's lawful and what's not lawful, and the Democrats stunt insinuating that they're illegal or unconstitutional orders. It's downright dangerous.
It is corrosive. It is meant to weaken our country and weaken the military.
Now, that's true. That's the goal, is to weaken our country, weaken the military. The Democrats are trying to foment an insurrection at the grassroots level. I'll show you later in this video how they're affecting even high school students, insurging and brainwashing our high school students to riot, to wave the flag of other countries.
How do you respond to these allegations from your colleagues, fellow veterans, that what you have put out there is weakening and corrosive to the military?
Well, these unfortunately are some of Trump's core supporters that are rallying behind the president, and they know better. They know exactly the difference between lawful versus unlawful. We were very clear in the video that what we're talking about is unlawful orders. You have the president's spokesperson going into a press conference.
But this would have been simple. All they had to do is name the unlawful order. What exactly is the unlawful order? If you're so concerned about it, say it. Why are you making the military personnel guess for themselves what they think might be unlawful, and then they're going to disobey an order, and then they're going to get court-martialed? That's because you guys, Democrats, see them as useful idiots. You're hoping just a ton of them come up and start calling whatever order, working with ICE agents or deporting illegals or whatever, you're hoping that someone starts being an activist. And that's not what the military is for. And that's not what that rule is for about disobeying a unlawful order.
This past week in saying that we called for people to disobey lawful orders. They're simply lying because the truth is unacceptable to them. It's unacceptable. We wanted to start a conversation, and we did, about the dangerous rhetoric this president is using and the threats that he's made to use our military in an unlawful way.
Specifically what?
Well, send troops into Chicago.
Okay, specifically what? Send troops into Chicago. So he just named it. If that's an unlawful order, are the troops supposed to disobey the president when they're sent into Chicago? That's an insurrection.
Send troops into polling stations, kill terrorists' families.
Wait. Trump did not say to kill terrorists' families.
Arrest and execute.
She just now said Trump didn't ask for that, you liar. So
execute members of Congress.
Yeah, Trump said to execute members of Congress. None of that's true. But meanwhile, now the Democrats are trying to use that as a shiny piece of foil. I am happy to see that news item come up, though, because now notice not one person is talking about Epstein. Crickets chirping, files released, nothing changed. Here's the radicals trying to defend. They love illegal aliens, killers here among us. And so they're protesting and blocking ICE.
Why are you being arrested?
I'm being arrested for peacefully protesting the horrible treatment of human beings by ICE agents.
It's called obstruction.
No, he looks into the I love this. He looks into the ICE agent, looks into the camera and goes, "It's called obstruction."
It's called obstruction. Obstruction of justice.
These people are being treated horribly. They're human beings. And it's not.
Go to jail, obstruction of justice. Look at these radicals. Funded by Soros, printed t-shirts, printed signs, funded by socialists, funded by anti-Jews to divide MAGA.
Because I'm fighting for immigrants and families that deserve to be safe.
Oh, that guy's that's a heavy lisp. I'm fighting for immigrants.
Families that deserve to be safe. No one deserves to not come home from a day of work, from a day of school, from a day of just living their lives. This is not the America we deserve. We deserve freedom, safety, and communities that are protected.
Yeah, lock them up and throw them away. Quit defending these illegal criminals that are killing our young daughters. Here's Caroline Leavitt. Trump vows to designate Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. Notice Trump is still doing good work, even with all these protests. That's Caroline Leavitt as press secretary is posting that to keep us on brand. Here's the White House. This tariff power will bring American national security and wealth, the likes of which we've never seen before. Those opposing us are serving hostile foreign interests. Those that oppose the tariffs are serving hostile foreign interests. Part of how these foreign interests are paying people to go against MAGA and against Trump is to oppose tariffs because financially they want to break the United States. And Trump's trying to break these hostile foreign interests. They're not aligned with success, safety, and prosperity of the United States. That's in Trump's order. Tweet today. Here's Riley Gaines. She's the swimmer who was against men competing in her swimming competition when she got jacked out of a medal by a biological male. She says Governor Abbott designated CARE a foreign terrorist organization last week. Now we find out they're operating out of Turkey. Once again, big money coming from Muslim countries. Pro-care means anti-Israel. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey just want you to look at AIPAC, a Jewish, as if that's what's funding everything. Tens of billions more dollars are coming in from Muslim organizations in other countries that is actual foreign interest on our country, probably funding Thomas Massey's campaign, perhaps even Rand Paul and Marjorie Taylor Greene. This X feature is doing exactly what it should. Thank you, Elon Musk. There's the CARE action right there in the Turkey App Store. We're going to go into more detail on this from Amy Meck. Exposed, CARE's Turkey-linked super PAC network is building a political machine machine inside America, and Laura Loomer cannot even report on it. She has a gag order on her because she's Jewish. Back in February, I exposed CARE leadership inside of Texas's Epic Mosque next to Yasser Qadi, the same Yasser Qadi tied to the Epic City development, now under state investigation for trying to create a Muslim city within Texas. And the same Qadi who conducted trainings with Tarek al-Suwaidin, a senior Muslim Brotherhood leader banned from entering the United States. And now look at this, CARE's actions. Official account is connected through the Turkey app. Yes, Turkey, the same country that jails journalists, hunts dissidents, and has pushed global Islamic blasphemy standards for decades. The same country has been repeatedly identified by researchers as safe haven for Muslim Brotherhood figures and transnational Islamic networks. The same Turkey whose religious outreach programs, state-backed imams, and mosques have been accused by analysts of advancing Islamic influence in the West. That's here. It's certainly, they're already finished with Europe. All across America, Turkey's controlling mosques and placing imams here in America, our imams placed by Turkey. Meanwhile, CARE, which Texas designated as a state level as a foreign terrorist organization, continues operating a sophisticated political machine inside the USA. That's politics with a gag order on Laura Loomer using our lawfare system. Here's Mark Levin. I love Mark Levin. Most massive foreign ops propaganda operation in history. I'm going to repeat that so you guys get the size of what I'm talking about. MAGA influencers being paid, politicians being paid. Most massive foreign ops propaganda operation in history. That's what's exploding before our eyes right now. Thousands of, quote, Palestinian accounts posting daily about starvation in Gaza, and Israeli crimes aren't based in Gaza. You've been manipulated for over 2 years. I'm just trying to deprogram my audience. I want it clear among us that this is an information war. Oddly enough, Alex Jones is called InfoWars, and he's against AIPAC in Israel. Okay, historians, we have very few real ones. We'll look back at the last 2 years and deem it retroactively the first, quote, world information war. It isn't just the misinformation and disinformation, but the cognitive warfare suddenly accelerated by AI as a tool. It is a warning. In the future, it may not be identifiable at all. Here's lots of whitewashing of Islam coming from Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Lebanon. Geez, I wonder what they might be up to. Conquest, it's always conquest. Here's the Arab-Muslim colonization map all over North Africa, all over Europe. Bye-bye. 1,400 years, 170 million murdered, but tiny Israel are the colonizers. Get it? Are you getting it yet? The Jews are a massive distraction to Muslim expansion across America, and they're funding it. And by the way, for those of you who think I'm the bad guy for being anti-Muslim, you know who's killed more Muslims than anyone else in the entire world? Muslims kill more. Now, here's Marco Rubio doing great state work. We're about to have a major breakthrough of peace with Ukraine and Russia because Trump is still going to work for us.
We had a very good day today. I think we made a tremendous amount of progress, even from the last time I spoke to you, and I apologize for keeping you waiting, but there was more work to be done. You know, we began almost 3 weeks ago with a foundational document that we socialized and ran by both sides, and with input from both sides. And one of the things that happens when you've been involved in this now for 10 months is you get a pretty good sense of what the priorities and the red lines and the important issues are for both sides. And so that allowed us to create a foundational document, which has been an ongoing working document. In fact, over the last 96 hours or more, there's been extensive engagement with the Ukrainian side, including our Secretary of the Army and others, being on the ground in Kyiv, meeting with relevant stakeholders across the Ukrainian political spectrum in the legislative branch and the executive branch and the military and others to further sort of narrow these points. We arrived here today with one goal, and the goal was to take what it's 28 points or 26 points, depending on which version as it continue to evolve, and try to narrow the ones that were open items. And we have achieved that today in a very substantial way. Now, obviously, like any final agreement, they'll have to be agreed upon by the presidents. And there are a couple issues that we need to continue to work on. But I think the report today is that I think today was worthwhile. It was very, very, it is probably the most productive day we have had on this issue, maybe in the entirety of our engagement, but certainly in a very
most productive day, perhaps in the entire engagement to end the war in Ukraine. It just took longer than Trump thought, but it's coming. Now, here's Scott Jennings just on basic Democrat disinformation, zombifying you about the Hunter Biden laptop story. Remember, this affected the election. This is why Trump lost in 2020, because the media, Democrats heavily funded by Reid Hoffman, put out that fake news. 51 corrupt Democrat FBI agents co-signed it to undermine Trump's narrative that Hunter Biden's laptop was real.
The story was true. There wasn't really any dispute of that, other than from these 50 people who come from government, who are in and out of government when Democrats are in power.
That's politics to me, Scott. I mean, you're not naive. They were making their case, just like you would say Trump just did with whatever issue he has.
Well, I don't agree that it's just a simple matter of making your case. When you use your government title and you use your intelligence bona fides and you use all your credentials to flat out lie to the American people, they didn't know that. That was a political argument, but they were saying this is Russian disinformation.
That is why I'm here to tell you the truth. I am not here to use my credibility to mislead you. One thing this MSNBC gal will not say to Scott Jennings is the reason why it's not just politics. She goes, oh, well, that's just politics. They were just making their political case. Why was it 51 FBI agents and state and generals and stuff all making it just for Democrats to benefit Biden? How come there were no pro-Trump case being made? See, that's how you know this is a one-side propaganda argument, Russia hoax. Here's our students in high school being brainwashed by Democrats. Look at this. Students at Wakefield High School in North Carolina, in the South, MAGA South, staged a walkout to protest ICE while holding anti-ICE signs. This is the same district which sent out an email authorizing excused absence for illegals and offered at-home lessons for illegals. Just imagine what they're teaching their students. Here's the protest. Young little commie radicals in public schools in North Carolina waving a foreign flag. There you go, wave the flag. It's not an American flag. By the way, printed matching t-shirt. Violent. There's your public school, high school, guys. More important or less important than Epstein files is all I can say. We're going to end on this happy note. Here's Governor Mike Lee. Based Mike Lee, we must pass the SAVE Act, which Mike Johnson wrote, to the SAVE Act now to protect our elections from foreign interference and fraud. Tell your senators and representatives if you agree. Why? Something tells me Massey, Rand Paul, Marjorie Taylor Greene will be against this. New President Trump says full focus needs to be on election fraud, says Benny Johnson. We must focus all of our energy and might on election fraud. That's Trump getting everyone back on. We are back on schedule with that. We agree. If you agree, subscribe, because we're going to keep going all the way through with all the election, making sure that we only have Americans voting in our elections. I'm Doug, In Exile. Leave a comment.